Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This is the continuation of Little Acts of Kindness. This will be part 34, chapter 34, entitled The Room Where It Happens. As you can tell, property damage is a big thing among heroes. Sometimes there is no other choice, but oftentimes excess property damage will have an overall negative impact for you. Not only can the owner of the property sue you, but if the media decides to portray you in a negative light, it can seriously affect your popularity rating. Civilians don't appreciate heroes who destroy more than they help. Limelight heroes aren't the only ones affected by this. In fact, they have a bit of a safety net if they are a part of an agency, as the agency often will pay for the damage instead of taking it out of the hero's personal paycheck. Underground heroes, on the other hand, will be forced to cover the costs themselves, and property damage is almost always more than what they are being paid. Shota explained to the class, wanting to see how they reacted to the information. Who needed further clarifying, who understood. He especially took note of Bakugo, since the lesson was something the kid needed to learn. It seemed that most of them were listening, but did they truly understand? Shota wasn't sure, but hopefully this next point would truly drive it home. He opened his mouth to continue, when the door slid open. Everyone's attention turned, and Shota internally winced. Midoriya stood there. The kid was a mess. He looked dead on his feet, obviously drained from Recovery Girl's healing. Yet his clothes and overall appearance told a story all by itself. First thing noticeable was how torn his gym uniform was. It was ripped in various places, cuts on the top, and what looked to be cuts from teeth on his leg. Looking closer, Shota noticed blue chunks that were stuck in Midoriya's soaked hair. Clothes still wet, showing he was obviously dunked in water at one point. His clothes looked like they had been eaten away by acid in some spots and burned in others. "Midoriya, bro, what happened?" Kirishima questioned, breaking the stunned silence. "Rat, bear, dog," the boy signed. Shota just nodded. "I see. My sympathies, then. What did he subject you to?" "Gym Zeta, tutorial and then easy mode." "Sensei, what are you and Midoriya talking about?" Uraraka asked. "You all know that information is confidential. It is part of his training with Nezu." "Why is the training with Nezu so secret?" Jiro spoke up. "Maybe because it's torture," Midoriya sighed, huffing out an annoyed breath. The boy started to make his way to his seat. Shota's lip twitched up, and the boy noticed him looking, and flushed embarrassed. Shota responded in sign. "Very true, helpful fox." Though out loud he said, "Because Nezu has us sign legally binding documents that we cannot discuss the exact details of what we go through. Midoriya can only discuss it with others who underwent the same training by Nezu. Now, speaking of legal documents, let's return to the lesson." The class groaned. "As I was saying, property damage is taken very seriously by the Hero Commission and the public. Now, as a hero after patrol, you are supposed to write a report on what happened. Usually these can be pretty brief if nothing happens, but if you do fight someone or help a person, then the report should mention that. This report can be your saving grace if property damage is reported. You need to report your actions in as much detail as you can, because some people will damage their own buildings and claim a hero did it. Cameras are checked, of course, but not all fights happen in a visible area. Now, because learning how to write your actions are important, every time you cause some form of property damage during a training exercise, you will be forced to write a report. Due time by the end of the next day. This serves two purposes: 1, to punish you for damaging the school property; 2, to teach you to avoid damaging attacks; and 3, to get you prepared for writing reports in a timely manner." Another groan answered him. "This also includes if you are in a partner activity and your partner does damage. Now, as you guys know, you will be going to your internships Friday. During this internship, you will be tailing heroes as they do their work. They will also likely have you fill in reports of what you did, even if you have a tedious day of just walking around. Frankly, I think it's a bit pointless to write a report when nothing happens, but it does make dealing with legal matters easier if you don't write a report and someone accuses you of breaking down their door on that day." The bell rang, and the class kept still, knowing already that Shota disliked them leaving with the bell. He made them pay the next day with extra rough training. He let out a breath. "You're dismissed." Several students immediately got up, leaving the classroom. Others took their time gathering up items and neatly packing them away. Midoriya stood up, walking towards him. "Rat, bear, dog wanted me to show you this," the boy signed, pulling out his phone, unlocking it, and then sliding it over. Shota looked down. Immediately, a crooked grin spread across his face as an image of Lad King was shown. The Class 1B homeroom teacher was smoldering, sections of his suit burnt, a thick-looking green slime covering him and an angry snarl on his face as he had his middle finger raised. Rat-Bear Dog was right, showed a sign to Midoriya. This image is very amusing. The boy hesitantly nodded back, lips twitching up. The kid probably enjoyed seeing a teacher suffer a bit of injustice, even if the boy didn't realize that was why he enjoyed it. There wasn't anything better than being allowed to be petty. "Where is Mineta?" Midoriya questioned, apparently having noticed the missing boy. "Suspended the rest of the week for his inappropriate behavior, and also has detention with Midnight," Shota answered. "He deserved it," Uraraka muttered, just loud enough for him to hear. Before further conversation could happen, the door opened. Shota glanced over to see if one of the students had left something behind, only to be surprised to see one of Class 1B's kids. Monoma Nato, if he remembered correctly. "Do you need something?" Shota asked. "Not from you," the boy said, heading towards Midoriya. Almost instantly, Uraraka and Ida were by Midoriya's side, with Tokiyami slinking in the back. Wait, that was Dark Shadow. Tokiyami was still sitting down. "You need something from me," Midoriya signed, eyebrows furrowed as he tilted his head to the side. Monoma's eyebrows shot up, but he grinned. "Yes, but first, what the hell happened to you? Did your classmates do this to you?" Well, it looked like the kid knew sign language already. That's good. Uraraka looked lost, and Ida was obviously trying to figure out what it was. "Slower, please. I'm still learning." Monoma repeated it, a bit slower. "No, I have training with the principal," Midoriya signed in return. "What did you need, Monoma?" "Call sign mimicry. And I wanted to invite you to hang out with me today. Well, my mom suggested I hang out with my classmates since it's my birthday. They were all busy, though, so I figured I'd ask you. It's okay if you don't want to." "It's your birthday." Monoma just nodded. Shota saw the boy look hesitant, but he wasn't outright rejecting it. Curious, he signed. "Where do you plan on hanging out?" After all, Shota knew if it was someplace crowded, Midoriya would be more uncomfortable, so it was better to let the boy have the information. If Monoma was confused as to why he poked into the conversation, he didn't show it, instead just responding, "A cat cafe." Midoriya's eyes widened, and then the boy gave a smile, bigger than his normal hesitant smile. "I think that would be good." So the kid liked cats. Shota approved. Monoma's expression softened a bit, and a more genuine smile came to his face. "Good. Are you good to go now?" Midoriya looked over to him. "Go on. I'll let Loud Cockatoo know you won't be joining." The kid gave a quick, signed thanks and then left with Monoma. "Sensei, what were they speaking about?" Shota raised an eyebrow at them. "I don't see how it's your business." "But we're curious," Ashido said. He ignored them and slipped into his sleeping bag, pulling out his phone. The conversation the kids were having still drifted over to him, though. "From what I gathered, the Class 1B kid was asking Midoriya to hang out. What Midoriya does in his free time isn't our business," Ida said. "Didn't that kid make Deku cry? Though the day before the sports festival, it was super confusing when Monoma popped up and claimed Deku was his rival, more so that Deku didn't freak out." "Rivals and friends aren't the same thing, Kero," Asui spoke up. "Maybe that is why he wasn't panicking." "The balance was restored after school, when the Imitation Shadow apologized to the Unborn One," Dark Shadow announced. Everyone turned to Tokiyami confused. "Imitation Shadow is Monoma. Unborn One is, well, I assume Midoriya," the boy explained, his quirk nodding. "We were passing by and saw the two coming out of an alleyway and heard Monoma apologize for his harsh words. As things didn't seem bad, we left." "Ah, thank you for informing us. It is good to know he apologized. It was confusing as to why Midoriya let him join us, but we couldn't ask since after the sports festival he ended up with Mike Sensei's quirk." "Well, you could have, but you would have had to wait for him to sign the answer," Yaoyorozu pointed out, causing Ida to make a face of realization. "Why does Dark Shadow call them those names?" Uraraka asked, curious. Tokiyami shrugged. "I'm not sure for Midoriya, but Monoma is because he can copy Dark Shadow." Dark Shadow seemed to grin as it flitted around a bit. "They are the Unborn One, my sibling." Shota blinked, attention focusing on the students instead of informing Hisashi that Midoriya wouldn't be joining him. "Your sibling?" Tokiyami asked, looking at his own quirk. "Does it have to do with Midobro's quirk?" Kirishima asked. I feel my sibling growing in strength, and I await the day they hatch, the shadow confirmed. Just how does his quirk work? First he gets Sensei's quirk, then he gets Mike Sensei's quirk. Where did he get that super strength quirk from? Kaminari questioned. It has always been similar to All Might's, Asui pointed out. But he had it from the first day. Do you think they knew each other before school started? Kaminari countered. All Might and Midoriya do seem to share a bond, Ida confirmed. So, would that mean only adults get it? After all, he knew Bakugo for a long time and never got Bakugo's quirk. Deku did tell us there was a prerequisite. I don't think we can confirm anything unless he tells us. He also kept it a secret for a reason, so it probably isn't wise to ask him, Uraraka said. The kids nodded. Slowly, the kids left the classroom until it was only Tokiyami and Dark Shadow. Shota was also fairly confident that the kid either forgot he was here or thought he was sleeping as the two started conversing. You think Midoriya is going to copy you? My sibling will be born. You want him to copy you? It wouldn't be me, not like imitation Shadow. It would be similar to me, though. I wouldn't be alone, the only of my kind. But do you want that? Maybe we can ask Midoriya to see if he cannot copy you. No! I want my sibling to be born. We could have fun together. Tokiyami's voice was hesitant. Are you sure Midoriya will copy you? The shadow paused. No, but I really want him to. Do you know his quirk prerequisite? Yes, but as the one who floats said, if he didn't want the predators to know, then I shall not help them to hunt him any more. Hunt him? You act as if Midoriya is prey we would feast on. A wolf in sheep's clothing, disguised so long he doesn't know he is a wolf. He has been hurt before. I don't want to be the one who allows him to be hurt again. Tokiyami hummed. Very well. Now let's go home, Dark Shadow. All right. Shota heard footsteps leaving, and the door sliding shut before he stood up, sending the almost forgotten text message. That was interesting, and curious as to just how Dark Shadow knew so much about Midoriya. Could the intelligent quirk somehow be linked to Midoriya's quirk already? Shota knew Midoriya created bonds, but just how did the bonds work? It was an interesting question, one he would have to think on and maybe do some experiments with the kid to see if they could figure out more. With a hum, he walked out of the room, heading towards his husband's classroom, wanting to share the information he had overheard. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 34 of Little Acts of Kindness. Chapter 35 will be up next. I hope you all are still enjoying. I really like the inclusion of Dark Shadow into this one, so I'm eager to hear your thoughts and reactions to that. And as always, thank you so much for listening.